Hi, it's Jan Beta, and today I'm going to be working on the ZX Spectrum Plus that you probably maybe saw me repairing in a previous video. Yeah, it is in pretty crusty conditions, so I'm going to clean the case, the keyboard. It also has a stuck enter key that I have to counteract in some way or the other. And we are going to give this a full recapping. So this video, because it's hilariously hot in the lab, you can probably see the sweat on my forehead here, is going to be not so much about thinking, but very much about just doing things. And a lot of the things will involve water, which is kind of good in this weather. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this. So let me first give you the tour. Yeah, it's mostly dirty, and this has some rubbed off paint. Keyboard we have to take apart again. There's a membrane that we replaced in the last video, and there's like a rubber mat that also provides the springiness, which is not quite enough for the enter key for whatever reason. We're going to have a look at that. The other keys feel fine, at least. And we are going to have to take the membrane out again, and we're going to have to take the mainboard out again to recap it, which makes sense because the capacitors were not the best quality. Okay, first step is obviously to take this thing apart again. And as I said last time, this only has 4 screws, which kind of is enough to hold it together. The original screws are like 8, I think. A lot more screws. They spared no expense on the screws, at least. Spared a lot of expenses on the actual machine. Okay, carefully getting the membrane out. Now this should just lift off. And as many people in the comments for the last video pointed out, I desoldered this reset switch, but actually you can just pull it out, obviously, which I didn't see. I thought it was like kind of, I don't know, covered by the plastic here and would be a pain to take out, but yeah, you can just pull it up and it comes out. Which just proves that you never stop learning. I never stop learning. So the circuit board itself is only held in with these 2 screws here, I believe, if I remember correctly. Which is fine, actually. It just holds pretty well. There are some standoffs here and such. Yeah, and that hold it in place. Okay, here's our circuit board. Gloriously repaired by replacing a number of RAM chips. I might go ahead and just replace all of them, but yeah, I think as this works now and it's not that difficult to open and take apart, I'm just going to leave the RAM chips as is and just replace the capacitors for now. First thing though is I want to take the keyboard apart so I can actually soak the plastic parts in some soapy water. And I want to do that while I work on the capacitors to save time. Keyboard is a pretty peculiar construction. There is like 3 layers of this membrane, and these clamps here press the layers together so the keys actually work. So it might just be that the arrow keys that I had problems with in the last video just didn't work because this wasn't pressed together right. So I think I don't need to do any work on these clamps. I'm just going to set them aside. I'm going to reinsert them later. This is just a plastic piece. Our membrane. Set that aside. And this is just a rubber or like silicone mat that also provides some springiness to the keys. And the spring for the enter key, which should be this one here, actually feels alright. So maybe it's just stuck in other ways. This can just go in soapy water as well, I think. So there's our keyboard assembly. That's interesting. So I've never taken one of these apart. This is the mechanism from the back. I suppose I think the enter key just gets stuck a bit because maybe we can add some lubricant to this piece. Maybe it gets better with cleaning. I think we can pull them off to the front there. I guess we can just pull them off. Okay. Aha, interesting. Okay, so they are a pretty similar construction to other keyboards I've worked on. There's a little, let me zoom in on that. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's like a cross-shaped thing in this plunger. So they didn't reinvent the wheel for these keyboards. They just shaped the keyboard in a peculiar way. Yeah, this is just pretty similar to other plungers you see on other keyboards. Still a peculiar construction, of course. Yeah, I'm going to take a picture of this keyboard before I take it apart so I can get the keys in the correct position again after cleaning them. I'm also taking pictures for the cover, or the, what is it called, thumbnail. I'm doing YouTube for years now and I still don't know the vocabulary, sorry. Let me take a second to thank my sponsor for this video, PCBWay, who are a manufacturer, as you probably know, of quality PCBs for prototyping purposes and other purposes. And they are celebrating their 6th anniversary at the moment. So there's all kinds of giveaways and specials. And also there is some videos that some of the creators they sponsor made. And one of them is me, and there is like a little vote for which video you like best. So if you would go there and vote for me, there's kinds of prizes to win for me. So that would be really nice if I could get some clicks from you. So check out PCBWay, check out the page I'm going to link in the description where you can vote for the videos. So here's the method I'm using. I'm just pushing the plunger up from the backside, and then I can just pull the keycap off and the plunger just falls out basically. You wouldn't get in here with the keycap puller, I think, because there's too little space around the keys actually. The spacebar is a special construction in that it has this metal bracket that is attached here on the back side of the keyboard. How am I supposed to get this off actually? Ah, like so. Okay, just pull it this way. There we go. And we're going to give this a little, probably a little scrubbing and a little WD-40 or something. Okay, now with the plastic parts separated, and this silicon part, just going to put these into here. I'm just going to, yeah, these can also go in here, I think. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think I just want to put all of these parts in the sink with some soapy water and let them soak for a significant amount of time and then scrub them with a brush. So for the recapping job, which means I'm going to replace all the electrolytic capacitors on here, which are all axial caps. That means the wires come out both ends of the barrel basically, as opposed to the radial caps where both wires come out one end of the barrel. These are very common in older electronics, not that common anymore, but you can still get them. For example, Vishay makes them, and they are readily available from various electronics resellers. So, and the good thing about those is that they are also a similar kind of blue, like the Gelec ones they used in these. And the ZX Spectrums I have seen, these capacitors were always kind of wonky already. They are like old, let's face it. And these electrolytic capacitors, they just dry out with age, and their properties change to an extent where the circuitry sometimes isn't even working anymore, or isn't working correctly, or could work a lot better with capacitors that were still in spec. So I'm going to replace all the electrolytic capacitors on this board. There's none under here, so the ones we can see are all the ones that there are. And I think we're mostly going to use 1 microfarad ones. These are 100, I think, and some 22 microfarad ones. You always want to go the exact capacitance. That means 1 microfarad cap should be replaced with a 1 microfarad cap. And you can go, for the voltage, you can go slightly higher or stay the same, I would suggest. These, the ones I have, are 85 degrees Celsius rated capacitors. That means they have their lifespan that is in the datasheet for that temperature. Preferably you would use 105 degrees Celsius capacitors, but they are pretty difficult to find as actual caps, actually. So yeah, basically these are all that I could find in for good brand capacitors, larger quantities. If you have a good brand that is readily available from any electronics reseller here in Europe, please let me know about that. I would love to hear about that. Yeah, the Vishay ones are basically the best I could find, and they match the color, so that's a plus. So the board is going to look nearly the same as before after finishing with it. Except for being a bit cleaner and the capacitors being newer. So without further ado, let's just do it! Okay, all recapped, doesn't look too bad. The new caps, as usual with modern caps versus older caps, are a bit smaller. But yeah, the color is the same, so it still looks pretty similar to before, which is kind of a nice touch for retro computer restorations if you get the board to look similar. Actually, these pads, especially the ones on the top side of the board, lift really, really easily. So I managed to lift one here, most of which are not connected. So be very, very careful with those. I was a bit too careless, it seems. Although I thought I was careful, but that stuff happens. So don't panic, basically. Mostly the pads that lift are the ones that are not connected. And there are a lot of connections that are not connected on one of the sides, but on the other one. And yeah, hope I didn't miss anything. Hope the capacitors are all in the correct polarity. Happened to me before. This one was particularly fun because it's just solid, basically floating, connected to these two diodes, and yeah, to a point on the circuit board. And as you've seen in the montage, I did one at a time to not get the values confused. I hope I got everything right. Now let's try if this still works, actually. I really need to get a cable with an inline power switch thingy sometime. But for now, I'm just plugging the plug in. And yes, it does still work. And it seems like actually the picture is a bit crisper, which is kind of normal if you recap these machines. See if any of the capacitors gets unnecessarily hot, which would be a clear indication for it being in the wrong polarity. And trust me, they get hot really quickly, usually. And if you leave them in too long, they burst, basically, or explode, because they short out and the electrolyte basically evaporates into gas, and it can be quite violent, actually. You've probably seen videos of people doing that on purpose, just putting capacitors in the wrong polarity. Yeah, but this seems to work. Very good. To the case, I guess. It's getting really hot in here anyway, so I'm kind of looking forward to playing with some water. One good thing about the hot weather today is that these keys are probably not going to take forever to dry. Also, a very, very nice feature of the keys, I like it when that happens, is that the lettering is actually another color of plastic. So this doesn't rub off or anything like that. It's not printed, it's white plastic, or beige plastic in this case. And it seems to be the original color. No retro brighting necessary in this machine. No retro brighting necessary on the case anyway. So yeah, the whiter plastic on the keys seems to be fine too. So we're going to let this dry for a while and then come back. While the keys and the case parts dry, I want to add some heatsinks to the PLA because that gets really hot, and to the Z80 CPU. And yeah, the other part that gets really hot is our 7005 voltage regulator, and that already has this massive heatsink connected to it that I slightly bent aside. I'm going to clean the chips with isopropanol alcohol, and then I'm going to add these heatsinks, which are really flat profiles, so I think they are going to fit into the case. They are not higher than this, and it also slides under here without shorting anything out. So I need two of those. These are The code is ICK40B. They are made for 40-pin dual inline package DIP ICs like these are. Yeah, you can probably get these from various electronics resellers. I think I bought them from reichelt.de. I'm probably going to put a link in the description if I can find them. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Clean this up, and then use this heatsink plaster, which should be heat conductive glue basically, and apply them. Okay, let's clean this up. For maximum conductivity, and I also want to clean up the heat sinks, of course. Although these should be pretty clean, I guess, if I remember correctly. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm just going to apply some on here. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. It smells good too. There's probably better stuff than this, and it's probably way too much that I'm applying here. Wow. Okay, this stuff smells a bit bad. Okay. Now we're going to have to let this dry for a long time. And I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, so everything is relatively clean. There are still some scuff marks on here and some dents, but it looks a lot better than before. And yeah, I think it's time to put this back together now. Yeah, it seems that worked reasonably well. So all the parts were still there, which is a big bonus. And yeah, I'm finding some spots here, there that I need to do some cleaning still on, and I'm using my isopropanol bottle here. But other than that, some of the keys have some scuff marks and stuff like that, but looks fine. And it's much cleaner now, and the keys travel much smoother. I hope that fixes the stuck enter key already. I think so. It was really dirty, so probably the white parts, if they dirty up a bit, get stuck easily. So this travels freely now. Hopefully that should do the trick. Let's put the rest back together. Okay. Completely forgot about this. We need some WD-40 for this. I think just going to spray it with some. And leave it in there for a bit. And then come back and yeah, scrub down the rust a tiny bit. Okay, I had this soaking for a while. And usually, yeah, there's some corrosion, so there are parts that are black, but the rust is gone, I think. Yeah. Kind of like so. There we go. So you just slide it in this direction. Yeah, this whole keyboard is kind of satisfying to work on. Let's see, which way does this go? This way. Yeah, that makes sense. And you have to fit it in the holes match up with the little standoffs and screw holes. This side. Then we need the membrane. It should go in here like so. And also again there's holes that have to match up. And then yes. Okay, let's put some screws back in. Actually, let me see if I have some more of these screws or similar sized ones so we can put them all back in because we don't have enough. Okay, I found them that have the correct length and the correct threads in my loose screws compartment. Several loose screws. So let's see. They are not the correct color, but they should work fine. Okay. Now for these parts, as I said previously, actually these clamps have to clamp down the contacts. They're actually holding down on the contacts. So I'm centering the little parts that are a bit where the different layers of the membrane meet. Just screwing this in. Yeah, that looks good. I'm trying to get this right. So the pressure's on the right, in the right part. Okay. Looks good to me. The little standoffs have to pop in. Like so, I think. Okay, and there's plenty of room for the heat sinks. Hey, and look at that, our enter key is not stuck at all anymore. That's cool. And I think I want to order a new set of screws for this. You can get them from some sellers, like fitting screws for these machines. It's not strictly necessary to put all the screws in, but I think there are different screws for different positions on these. And I don't know which ones fit in there because they were all missing on my unit here. So I'm just going to order some at some point. And I think I also want to order a replacement rainbow badge thing. The feet actually lock in place pretty nicely. Okay, I think that's it. Let's try. Okay, after all the refurb work, let me see if this thing actually still works. Which it should. Tested the board before. There we go. Nice. Okay, does the keyboard work? Yes. Yes, and the arrow keys also work. Which I think might have not worked in the previous video because we had the contacts for the keyboard clamped down incorrectly. Yeah, now this looks really good. Let's try some games, I guess. The arrow keys actually work this time, so we had it clamped down incorrectly. Thanks for the commenters who pointed that out. The enter key is still kind of at an angle, but it works and it doesn't stick. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. Oh, I actually die if I... Okay. I've never been good at this at all. It is a pretty tough game. Manic Miner, everybody. True classic. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm pretty satisfied with how this turned out. I want to have a replacement badge because that's just, yeah. You can get these from various places, I think, like little stickers that look original. Would be a nice touch. Otherwise, all the problems are fixed. It is pretty clean. Still some scuff marks here and there, but that's, I guess, that's battle scars, more or less. So that's just cool. And yeah, nice little machine. I really love it. Thanks again, Alistair, for donating this machine. And thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for your thumbs up or down, whatever you like. If you like these kinds of videos, please consider subscribing to this channel. And maybe if you like them enough, consider supporting me on my Patreon or on the channel memberships page. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful for all the people who are already supporters of my work. Thank you so much. And hopefully see you soon. I'm Jan Beta. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. Now I'm going to try and become good at this game, which is probably not going to work. Okay. Let me at least finish the first level, I guess. Oh.